Afternoon, Chairman.
Good afternoon. Can the participants hear us?
Yes. We don't know if we can hear us.
Good afternoon, Dr. Folashade.
Good afternoon, sir. Yes, good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. You're all welcome to the free webinar on the Institute's new approach to engagement and practice review exercise on audit firms. We sincerely apologize, for not starting as scheduled. We're having a bit of challenges, but we're starting any moment from now. Just to let us know that the capacity for Zoom attendees is 500, and we have well over 2,000 participants registered for this training. So we're activating our YouTube channel for members that are unable to join now to please join via the YouTube channel. So if you have colleagues that are not able to join us here on Zoom, they should please do well to join us via our YouTube channel. We'll also be sending the link to every member's email for them to do the same. We're starting shortly, so please just to say welcome, and then you're not late. We appreciate you for joining early. Any moment from now, we will be kicking off. Thank you very much for your patience. Yes, good morning. Okay, it's not morning, it's now afternoon. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. I hope everyone can hear me. Yes, good afternoon to everyone. Once again, we want to sincerely apologize for starting this webinar late. It's not planned. We had to put some things in place for us to give you the best for today's program. Yes, my name is Noye, and I'll be your anchor for today. Before we quickly start, is our practice to just give a very brief opening prayer, and that will be done by one of our members, Mr. Kelvin Ezala. Mr. Kelvin, please, if you're here, kindly unmute your mic and help us with a short opening prayer. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone on this call. My name is Kelvin Ezala, a member of the Institute. Shall we pray? In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Almighty Father, we thank you this day for gathering us together to come and learn one or two things for the growth of the Institute. Father, Lord, we pray you to be with us, fill us with your Holy Spirit to guide and direct us, so that all that we are going to be taught this afternoon, we will be able to put into practice to your own glory and for the growth of the accountancy profession in general. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen. Amen. Thank you very much, Mr. Kelvin. Yes, to kick off with the business of the day without wasting much of our time, as our usual practice, we quickly run through the national and ICAN anthems. So if our technical team, if they're ready, please, the national and ICAN anthem. Thank you very much, team, for playing the national and ICAN anthem for us. quickly we'll kick off by doing some very brief introduction of some personalities here with us present. We sincerely apologize. The 60th president couldn't join us today for the program. I think he's engaged in other activities, but we still have to commence the program. We have with us today the Deputy Director of the Institute, and she is Dr. Ijoma Anna. So please let's welcome and appreciate her. Ma, we appreciate you for joining us this afternoon. We also have, I can see the Chairman Professional Practice Committee, Mr. Jamiu Adeyemi Olakiso, FCA. Please a round of applause for him, sir. You are highly welcome in our free webinar today. We also have the DDTF, that's the Deputy Director of Technical Education and Faculty, Dr. Adedokun Yemisi, FCA. Please let's appreciate her. Ma, you're highly welcome. We cite you and we appreciate you. Yes, quickly, before we start on our first topic for today, will be taken by the head professional practice, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. He will be going. Yes, he will be. Okay, he will be taking us on the Institute's new approach to engagement and practice review exercise on audit firms. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome Mr. Toye Fadele, FCA. Thank you, sir. The floor is all yours as we listen to him. Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Mary. For the brief introduction. So I hope everyone can hear me. So I want to believe everybody can hear me. We want to welcome each and everyone to this webinar on the Institute new approach to engagement and practice review exercise on audit firm. As we are all aware, I want to believe everybody is aware that the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, both the leadership, both the institutions, they have their primary responsibility when it comes to practice review exercise. And at the same time, there is a kind of collaboration and memorandum of understanding between the two institutions. And apart from that, practice review exercise is on audit firm is statutory and is an assignment that has come to stay. It's not new, and we want to bring it to the mindset of our members that is something that is expected of them and is statutory. And when you hear that the practice review exercise is about to be conducted on your firm, there is no cause for alarm. And at this session today, before we start, once again, my name is Toye Fadele, FCA, the Head of Professional Practice, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. This awareness session, by the directive of the Governing Council of the Institute, is going to be on periodic basis, and then it's going to be a continuous one, as we are having it now the Institute will try, we are going to try as much as possible to make it a continuous exercise, just to create a wider awareness for our members and the reason why they need to make themselves available for the exercise. Like I mentioned, at this webinar today, we are going to look at the regulatory framework. I want to believe that my screen is visibly displayed so that we can flow together. Is that correct? Okay. So we are going to review the regulatory framework for the practice review exercise, the objective and scope of the exercise, the approach, the new approach ICAN is adopting now, and previous findings based on what we've experienced so far. We want to take this medium to create a kind of awareness on what that our members, based on the feedback we got from our feed exercise, we want to also use this medium to let our members know the reason why they should not do all those things and the reason why they should do the right thing. Then the expectation of the Institute and some forms and checklists for practice review exercise vis-a-vis the recent development. So the learning outcome. So at the end of this session, the practitioner, all our practitioners should be able to understand the regulatory framework, identify the objective and scope, be aware of pitfalls that may emanate from practice review exercise so that they can guide against it in their own firms, and the expectation of the practitioner from the Institute as regard what the practitioner has expected to do, and also to they should be able to familiarize themselves with some of our documents, and also to be abreast of the recent development when it comes to practice review exercise conducted by ICAN. So the ICAN, we have that primary responsibility to ensure quality assurance review, quality assurance monitoring. It's a global standard. It's expected of us by ICAN, by IFAC, sorry. IFAC is expected of us to monitor all firms that perform statutory audits within our jurisdiction here in Nigeria and report same on periodic basis. Then we have that obligation, which is out of statement of membership obligation. There are 7 in number expected of IFAC. So this quality assurance monitoring is SMO1, which is statement of membership obligation 1. So the statutory is we've been saddled. I mean, the ICAN has that primary responsibility to conduct that practice review within our jurisdiction, especially those our members that we license to practice. So according to the Governing Council of the Institute, they've put adequate structures in place to ensure this exercise is successful and is going to be run on continuous basis. So ICAN-ngr is in support of practice review exercise. Then global standard, international standard on quality management, which took effect in November 2022, 15 December 2022, and also the delegation agreement between the ICAN and FRC, and that was signed by 2023. Other framework has to do with ISBA code, ISBA code, 2020, ISQM1, and all that. Those are the regulatory framework in support of the practice review exercise. So objective and scope The objective of the practice review exercise is to ensure quality assurance. Auditors, they've already conducted their own audit. ICAN is not to conduct audit. ICAN is to check the quality of the services already rendered by their members in practice. Our primary responsibility is not to conduct the audit. We are to check the quality of the audit already conducted by our practitioners. Another objective is to safeguard the integrity of the financial reporting so as to have confidence in, our investors to have confidence in the financial reporting and the audit opinion being issued by our members in practice, and to also eliminate illegitimacy within the professional practice space. So this practice review exercise, in terms of scope, applies to all firms that perform statutory audit and other assurance-related services. That is the scope. And how does it work? ICAN staff are the reviewers, which is different from the way the Institute has been doing it. The new approach now is that the staff of the Secretariat, they will now be the one to review firms, unlike before. So the issue of confidentiality has been addressed, because the staff of ICAN, who happen to be the reviewer, they are not currently in practice, and they are the employees of the Institute. So that's the new approach now. And the review we are talking about is going to be in two phases. The first phase of review is the review of the firm as a whole, and also the review of the engagement performed within a specific financial year. And the firm level review is to check the compliance of the firm when it comes to all the 8 components of ISQM1. ISQM1 will be the second paper to be presented today, so I don't want to dwell too much on that. And the engagement performance review, the objective is to check the compliance of what the auditors have done in line with the relevant standard, like international standard on auditing and the international financial reporting standard. Then how does it work? This selection of engagement to be reviewed is done by a risk-based approach using significant audit risk area. The way the Institute is doing the practice review now, or the way we are conducting the practice review now, our approach and our methodology, we have activities before we set out for the feed. We call it pre-feed activities. Then we have the feed work, and thereafter we have the post-feed activities. Under the pre-feed activities, we will write you as a practitioner, and it is we will write you and disclose our intention to review your firm. Then the date will be communicated. Then we are expected the managing partner to also reply us that yes, we are set for the review exercise. ICAN will not just burst into your office and say we want to review. We will write you officially. You will get back to us that the date work for you. Where the date does not work for you, of course, you let us know. However, based on the standard operating procedure as approved by the council, a firm, you cannot reschedule our practice review exercise more than twice. You can reschedule once, you can also reschedule twice. You cannot reschedule more than twice. You cannot reschedule the third time. That will not be acceptable. All this back and forth will happen before the feed. Then during the feed work, we have the opening meeting with you, And during the opening meeting, we are going to let you know what exactly we are looking at. We are going to let you know the objective of our review. We are going to conduct the review activities, and thereafter, we are going to have a kind of, after the review activities, all our observation will be shared with you during the closing meeting, even before we leave the feed. Now, the post-feed activities, our observation will be sent to the managing partner, and we expect the managing partner to reply us based on what we've discussed. Even the essence of the discussion before we leave the feed is to minimize a kind of back and forth argument. Is to minimize back and forth arguments and minimize the turnaround time of our exercise. So once we've agreed some findings and observation with you earlier before we leave the feed, you will expect the managing partners to get back to us within 48 hours, maximum of 2 days. And the responses we are expecting is not just to say, yes, we agreed. Yes, noted. No, we don't want all those responses. We want a kind of response that after you agree to our observation, we want a kind of commitment from you that this thing will be fixed within a specific time frame. It's part of what we expect. This webinar we are having today is to let you know the Institute expectation when it comes to practice review exercise. One of our expectations is get back to us within 48 hours. Don't say noted. Don't say agreed. Tell us what exactly will you do differently, so that when we come, in order to rectify all those deficiencies, so that when we come later for a follow-up review, we can get a kind of improvement, and that is the objective of the practice review exercise. And the way we report to the Professional Practice Committee of the Institute, who thereafter report to the Governing Council. So as we speak today, the outcome of our practice review exercise on audit firm, based on the common findings we have been seeing so far, and that's the essence of having this session today, this awareness session today. Almost 90% of firms are not yet compliant with the provision of all the 8 pillars of ISQM 1, and this is considered inappropriate since the global adoption of this international standard since 2022. So we want the go round. After today's webinar, we expect that all our practitioners will go back to their firm and design and implement the policies. They need to design their own internal policy, and they need to begin to implement all those internal policies to comply with the provision of all the 8 pillars ISQM 1. So under the engagement performances, what are the common findings? We observed so far that our members, they will be the one to double function. You double the function, you'll be the one to prepare the account, and you'll still be the one to express independent opinion on the account you've already prepared. This is ethically wrong, and we don't want this practice to continue. And that's the essence of this session. It is tantamount to self-review threat. We also have experiences where an engagement, our members will take up engagement based on relationship. Engagement letter, when you request for engagement letter, they won't provide it. The question now is, how were you able to take up this engagement? please, we should not take up any engagement all because of relationship, or because you know the MD or CEO of that company. It is ethically wrong. Now, some of our members, they don't have the audit planning memorandum as regarded by ISA 300. Some of our members, when you request for audit working paper in line with the provision of ISA 230, they won't be able to provide it. And this is not in line with the best practice. How will you audit, how will you express independent opinion on a financial statement when you don't have audit working papers? So it is not our expectation, and we want all our members in practice to ensure that this is to prevent all these things from happening going forward. And that's the essence of this webinar. We also have instances where external confirmation were not performed as required by ISA 505. External confirmation, there are some significant balances on the financial statement that as an auditor, we are expected to perform external confirmation procedures. However, when the external confirmation were not forthcoming, we are aware of some challenges. Bank, for instance, might not disclose, might not respond to the independent sublarization from the auditor. We are aware of all this, but where all this procedure fail, the standard said you can perform alternative procedures. Why are we not performing alternative procedure? Then we have our members, instances where the audit opinion page will not have the basis of opinion paragraph. Everything will be lumped together. Time did not permit us, we could have shared some audit opinion pages that we've experienced in the field. This is not professional enough, and we want our members to improve on the quality of the services they render to their various clients. We have instances where the findings, the feed findings, emanated from the audit exercise was not communicated to those that charge with governance in line with the provision of ISA 260. ISA 260 said, communicate your findings to those that charge with governance. Communicate your findings to your clients. Communicate your findings to those who have that responsibility to implement your recommendation. But we have instances where, yes, some auditors will communicate the findings, but they won't still wait for the responses from the management before they sign off audit engagement. This is professionally wrong. Letter of representation of some significant item in the financial statement to support their opinion, they won't have it. Then the assessment of going concern, especially where the entity is persistently reporting losses, our members will not request for all this. And we have instances where a audited financial statement is being signed up even without valid license. So, as we speak now, we want we don't want all these things to continue. Signing audit engagement without valid license is professionally wrong. In fact, it's unethical. It's unethical, and that can even make such member to face appropriate disciplinary process. You conduct audit, you don't have valid license. That is professionally unacceptable. So all this, those are the common findings. We have many, we have several of them, but because of our time, let's quickly go to the expectation. What are the expectations of ICAN from our practitioner when it comes to practice review exercise? Number one, you need to make yourself available. Like I mentioned earlier, you can reschedule twice. You can't reschedule more than twice. If you schedule more than, if you write you and you say you are not available for the first time, you are not available for the second time, when your license is also due for renewal, we also will tell you we are not yet available for you. So it's both ways. So we can see the impact. And when you are practicing with illegal, when you are practicing without valid license, that means you are practicing illegally, which is punishable under the law. You need to make yourself available. Then two, instant communication, don't delay. Once we write you, reply us immediately, even if you are going to postpone or reschedule. What are the expectations of the institute? We expect our practitioner to provide all review requirements within a stipulated period. We will write you and state all those things we need before we come. And you need to get it ready for us so as not to elongate our stay within your firm. What are the expectations of the institute? We expect our practitioner to demonstrate with sufficient evidence the implementation of international standard on quality management. We also expect adequate documentation of all your processes and procedures, especially when it comes to acceptance and continuance of audit engagement. How do you accept audit engagement? What are the background checks you have done before you accepted? And what are the ethical processes and procedure? Were you able to communicate the initial auditor if you are not the first auditor? Were you able to conduct background check on what led to initial auditor, or you just jump at that engagement? All these things we need to see it when we come to the field. We also expect our members to maintain their permanent and current audit files to ensure that they are regularly updated. We also expect our members to communicate their findings to those that are charged with governance. Don't conclude the audit if you have communicated your findings to those that are charged with governance and you've not received adequate responses from them. You cannot go ahead and sign the audit. All these things must be adequately observed. Then you also need to ensure that you have sufficient, your working papers are sufficient, are intact, because that is what we are going to ask for when we come to the field. Then we expect you to respond to our post-review query within the agreed time frame of 48 hours. So then we expect our members to also return their practice license back to the institute for safekeeping, so that your annual license fee will not continue to charge you annual license fee, especially if you know that you are not currently using the license. So we also expect our members to maintain accurate database of their clients. We have instances where one of our practitioners, we requested for the address of the client, is unable to provide the address of the client. Further inquiry revealed that according to the firm, to the managing partner of that firm, he said our clients have been operating on the cloud. All the activities are on cloud. This is professionally wrong. How can you be dealing with a client and you don't conduct KYC from time to time? So we also expect our members to know that after the review exercise, your firm will be rated, and that will lead to the classification. That will lead to either you are class A firm, you are class B firm, you are class D firm. In some other jurisdiction, firm, strive to move from lower class firm to the higher class firm, even if it's going to lead to additional fees to pay. They are not bothered. So your firm will be rated, and of course, you will know where you belong. Then we also expect our members to follow up with the institute, because the follow-up review will also be conducted. So after this webinar, We have the email of all our members that register for this program. We are going to send some relevant document to them so that they can familiarize themselves with our document that we are using for practice review exercise. Recently, there are some changes within the institute that will lead to more capacity building, for our members in practice. And one of them has to do with there's going to be mandatory practical and enlightenment session on implementation of ISQM1. In 2022, we had 4 series of training under ISQM1, but this time around is going to be practical based. That is the Governing Council of the Institute has approved that, and that will happen any moment from this month. Then this awareness, the practical session on ISQM1, I'm talking about here, the evidence of the attendance of that program will be demanded anytime our members want to renew their license. Then the Governing Council of the Institute has also approved that our members should familiarize themselves with the recently reviewed Institute Audit Manual for proper guidance. Everything we need when it comes to practical audit, everything we need is in that manual. It's in our website. Go to under members resources, you will get it there. The Governing Council has already approved that a kind of guidelines for mergers. As we know, our experiences have shown that once a managing partner, after the demise of a managing partner of a sole practitioning firm, that firm is likely also to go into extinction. So the Institute has identified this, and that is why they came up with guidelines for mergers in order to have synergy, in order to ensure notable firms did not go into extinction after the demise of their managing partners. Then recently also, the Governing Council has already also approved the annual return filings of audit firms. Any moment from now, the project will go live, and we expect our members to file their return. What are we expecting in the return? Tell us what you do or which you have done within the financial year back to the Institute. It's going to be a bit different from what we file with CAC, what we file with SEC, what we file with regulatory agency. There are some information that we are going to be requesting for, that we encourage or that we make our practice review exercise seamless. For instance, if you tell us that you have so numbers of clients, and all these clients, larger portion of your clients are into public interest entities, that will guide us not to come around to review your firm, because the scope of our own review is to cover largely non-public interest, is to cover audit firms whose clients are largely public interest entities. So all those data will help us to improve. We are going to leverage on those data which we have vested from the annual return filing to improve our own practice monitoring process. Then after the review exercise, like I mentioned earlier, your firm will be rated, and after the return filing, your firm will also be categorized. Categorization of firms is part of what we do at the Institute, and any moment from now, we are going to display all the names of our members in practice and the categories which they belong, and also the ratings. Either you are in any class you belong to. If your firm is class A, if your firm is class B, you are going to see it on website. And of course, all of us know the implication of this, and that is why we need to improve on the quality of our job we render to our various clients. And that is the essence of this webinar free awareness session we are having today. thank you so much for listening. And we want to leave the floor for the anchor in case we have any question so that we can address that. Thank you so much. Noye, over to you. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Knowledge, they say, indeed is power. Mr. Fadili, thank you for doing excellently well this afternoon. I'm sure our members would be very happy for this insightful knowledge that they've gotten today just for free. You've heard different voices about practices that are ethically wrong and things that are expected from you as a practitioner. Okay, it's time for Q&A. Mr. Fadele, should we take the questions now or should we wait till after the second speaker? Do you mind if they can send you their questions now?
Mr. Fadele, can you mute your device because it's echoing in Noye's device?
I think we can, let's begin to gather the questions so that, or can I take the permission of my chairman, Mr. Jami Olakison, the chairman of Professional Practice Committee, is also among the panelists, and my deputy registrar, technical services, Dr. Ijoma Anaso. I want them to guide how we want to have it, either to go ahead and take the Q&A now, or we should take the Q&A after the second paper presentation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, sir. You have the floor, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Toye. Good afternoon, everyone. I think based on the way it's been designed, the second session should happen, after which the Q&A session should kick in, considering the fact that questions may also be asked on the second session.
Thank you very much, sir. I think we agree with you on that. So, and because just to offer us to also manage time. So participants, if you have questions, be able to type all questions on the Q&A box. Please do not type in your questions on the chat box. We might not be able to pick it up. Somebody type in a question on the chat. Mr. Dala, please take it from there, put it on the Q&A so we get to see all the questions. And we also want to appeal to members to stop sending in their names and membership numbers on the chat box. Yeah, because we already have your details. We already have every detail. For everyone that registered, we have your details. Please do well to type in your questions on the Q&A box and not on the chat box. Yes, we'll be introducing our next speaker for today. But before we do that, we also want to let you know that this training or this webinar, free webinar, attracts 2 credit points. For everyone that has registered for this program, you're entitled to 2 credit points. And hopefully before the week runs out, everyone will be credited accordingly. Yes, quickly, let's now introduce our second speaker for the day. And it's my pleasure to read our profile for you. Our next speaker is Dr. Folashade Owolabi ACA. She has over 15 years experience, which spans industry, academics, and practice. Currently, she works in the Audit, Quality, and Risk Unit of Deloitte, Nigeria, as an internal control implementation specialist. She has worked with clients on internal control implementation projects and has provided audit support in evaluating the adequacy and effectiveness of internal control over financial reporting for various clients in different business sectors. Besides, she's also involved in managing some international standard of quality management activities of West Africa at Deloitte. She's a graduate of mathematics from the University of Ilorin and holds a master's degree in business administration from the same university. Folashade also holds a Bachelor of Science degree in applied administration from the same university. She also holds a Bachelor of Science degree in applied accounting from Oxford Brookes University, Oxford, United Kingdom. She has a Master of Science and a PhD degree in accounting from Covenant University, Otta, Nigeria. She's also a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICAN, and an affiliate member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA. She holds many certifications, including SAP and IBM Predictive Analytics. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as I welcome to the platform our next speaker. I'll be taking us on Introduction to International Standards on Quality Management and Theoretical Framework. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Folashade Owolabi, ACA. Please, let's put our hands together. Yes, I can see those hands. Keep putting your hands together for him. Ma, you're welcome on the platform. Our members are definitely waiting to hear from you. The floor is yours. Thank you once again and welcome.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. And Chairman, sir, permit me to stand on already established protocols. My name is Folashade Owolabi, as I have been introduced. So I will be taking the next session. So please, I would ask, would you present the paper or I share my screen from here? Moderator, please.
Okay, we need to give you access to share your slide, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And go ahead, man, share.
All right. So please, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. Please put it on presentation mode. Not yet on presentation mode.
Okay.
But you can see your screen. Good to go, ma. I think you're fine.
All right. So, all right. Thank you. So good afternoon, professional colleagues, once again. So I would be taking the second presentation. Okay, titled Introduction to International Standards of Quality Management, ISQM 1, and Theoretical Framework. So a brief context to this. So today's presentation is a quick insight to ISQM 1. And like it has been said by Mr. Fadili, the Institute will also organize a practical session to help members navigate the implementation of ISQM 1. So what we want to do here is just to provide an awareness so that people, our members, can know what to expect. So these are the content of what we are discussing today. All right, so like the previous speaker said, what we want to achieve is quality on our engagement. Whatever we do as professional accountants, we need to focus on quality, and that has to be continuous. So that is the whole essence of organizing this awareness session. And a key part of that will be ISQM 1. And the standard was issued by the International Audit and Assurance Standards Board, that's IAASB, and it's applicable to firms, that perform audits or reviews of financial statements or other assurance and related services engagement. So the focus of ISQM 1 is to ensure consistency of quality in our engagement. Okay, so it's a little bit different from ISQC 1, which is the International System of Quality Control that used to be, because that was majorly on monitoring. But now the focus of ISQM1 is a bit more integrated and proactive, because it takes care of all parts of an engagement, so to say. So it's looking at the process, the whole process from planning to execution. So not only focusing on the monitoring, so that as much as possible, the quality of an engagement is in place. Now, a very key requirement of this standard is that all firms, all applicable firms, relevant firms, should design, implement, and operate. So these three words you will always see in the course of this standard, because you have to design. That is the first stage. There must be a design of a system of quality management, and for short, SQM. So we have to design and implement. Yes, after implementation, you have to operate, meaning that it has to be continuous. So it has to be operational. So it's not a one-time affair. Now, this became effective 15 December 2022. So by now, all relevant firms should have implemented this system. Now, again, apart from the implementation, when you have adopted that standard, there is a requirement for at least an annual evaluation. The standard requires at least an annual evaluation of the system of quality management for every relevant firm. And when you evaluate your SQM, you're supposed to conclude on the effectiveness, of that SQM at least annually. So we have that, in different transparency report, because it's even a requirement by FRC to include that in the transparency report. So we have that, and it's a public document, so you can get online and see what other people have done, regarding the adoption and implementation of the SQM for their relevant firms. Okay, so let's look at the objective of ISQM. The objectives are in two parts. We look at the objectives of the firm as well as objective of the SQM. Now, the objective of the firm is to design, implement, and operate SQM, as we have said earlier. While the objective of the SQM is in two folds, really, and is to provide the firm with reasonable assurance that, one, because we need to know the objective. The objective of SQM is to provide the firm with reasonable assurance that the firm and its personnel, they fulfill their responsibilities as it relates to professional standards, legal and regulatory requirements, and their engagements are conducted as such. You recall that when the first presenter was making this presentation, he was talking about some ISAs that were not complied with. So on that, if your firm is implementing or operating the SQM, then we won't have such infractions. Secondly, we must have a reasonable assurance that engagement reports issued by the firm or engagement partners are appropriate in the circumstances. So when you are concluding on your SQM, you should be able to conclude on how you as a firm and the personnel in the firm have conducted engagements in relation to professional standards, legal and regulatory requirements, and as well saying that the engagement reports issued were appropriate in every circumstance. So this is very crucial. So one important aspect of this ISQM1 is the call out of, or the introduction of, a risk-based approach to manage the quality of engagement. So this is an introduction, so a modification from the ISQC1. So this ISQM1 introduces the application of risk-based approach in designing, implementing, and operating SQM. And we have three aspects to that. The first aspect is establishing quality objectives. So everything is about quality. So the ISQM1 revolves around quality. So as a firm, there must be establishment of quality objectives. So we'll look at definitions of all these terms as well. So the quality objectives are desired outcomes. What are the things we want achieved? So, and it is based on the components, the 8 components that we'll look at in details shortly. Now, the ISQM already provided some specific quality objectives. So those are that will be the list you should implement or operate as a firm. However, as a firm, you can add more depending on the kind of organ or on the kind of firm you are. And another beautiful thing about this ISQM1 is that it is scalable, meaning that depending on your nature as a firm, the kind of client you serve as a client, you can always modify your system of quality management, to corroborate with that. Now, after establishing quality objectives, you then identify and assess quality risk, meaning that you must understand the risk that could occur maybe in the course of performing your engagement as a firm. You need to understand that, identify those quality risks and assess them, because that is what will help you to design and implement responses. By responses, we mean policies and procedures, to mitigate those risks. So the third one is designing and implementing your responses. So as a firm, you need to design and implement responses. So in terms of policies and procedures. So policies refer to statements, while the procedures are the actual steps that you need to take to address this quality risk. So this is a very cardinal point to ISQM1. So this is just showing us a table showing us the difference between ISQC1 and ISQM1. So in ISQM1, we have 8 pillars or component. So the first one is the firm's risk assessment process. This was not included in ISQC1. We have governance and leadership. Before, it used to be leadership. Now it's expanded. Relevant ethical requirements, their acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagement performance. Then resources. Now we have resources. Before, we used to have human resources. But you agree with me that resources are beyond human. We have other types of resources as well. Then information and communication. This is very, very fundamental, but that was omitted in ISQC1. Then we have the monitoring and remediation process. Before it was monitoring, but like we said, the ISQM also is focused on continuous improvement. So we need a remediation process so that where we identify deficiencies, we can always have a process of correcting these deficiencies and have improved quality in our engagement. Now, what are the key concepts? We have about 24 of them in that standard, but we're just calling out a few, that are very important. So we have FEM, that quality objectives. I've talked about that, their desired outcomes in relation to the component of SQM to be achieved by the firm. The quality risk, very key. A risk that has a reasonable possibility of occurring, one, and secondly, individually or in combination with other risks, affect the achievement of one or more quality objectives. Then we have responses. These are the policies and procedures that are designed, to mitigate risks. Yes, we have system of quality management. It's a system designed, implemented, and operated by a firm to provide a firm with reasonable assurance, in terms of how the firm and its personnel have fulfilled their responsibility in accordance with professional standards and legal and regulatory requirements, and as well engagement reports issued by the firm or engagement partners are appropriate in the circumstances. We have relevant ethical requirements. We know we are professional accountants, and this is very key. aligning with relevant ethical requirements. So we have from ICAN, we have from ISBA as well. Then findings. So findings are information about the design, implementation, and operation of SQM that has been accumulated from the performance of monitoring activities, external inspection, and other resources. For instance, we can see the list that was projected by Mr. Fadili on what ICAN found out when they went for practice reviews of firms. So that could come as findings. Then, because it's a finding, we can now evaluate those findings to confirm whether there are deficiencies or not. So what are deficiencies, or what is a deficiency? This exists in the firm's system of quality. And I really want to talk about this in 4 ways. One, it's possible that the quality objective required to achieve the objective of the SQM is not even established. So where the objective is not established, there is already a fundamental problem. Secondly, a quality risk or combination of such risk are not even identified or properly assessed. So there is no way you can design your system that would be in line with ISQM. Thirdly, a response or combination of responses, now your policies, do not reduce to an acceptably low level the likelihood of a related quality risk occurring because the response or responses are not properly designed, implemented, or operating effectively. That would result to a deficiency. Any other aspect of the SQM is absent or not properly designed, implemented, or operating effectively, so that the requirement of this ISQM has not been addressed. Meaning that you could even have responses, but it's not adequately designed. So we could have deficiency as a result of designs. We could have deficiency as a result of implementation, or as a result of operating effectiveness. Okay, so let's talk about briefly about the system of quality management itself. What are the responsibilities of firms? One, the ultimate responsibility and accountability of SQM should be assigned to a person, usually the managing partner or equivalent, based on the organizational structure. However, we can now have operational responsibility among other units or departments. And the standard specifically says that the operational responsibility for specific aspects, such as compliance with independence requirements and the monitoring and remediation process, is required. Now, it's the responsibility of the firm to assign responsible persons to take control or to take responsibility for the SQM. So, and in doing that, you look at the experience, the knowledge, and time, of such people. Again, the standard says that people who have responsibilities, operational responsibilities for SQM, should have a direct line of communication to the individual assigned the ultimate responsibility and accountability of the system of quality management. And on this also, I would say that the system of quality management, we know because things are evolving. So it doesn't have to be a linear process. It can always be an iterative process. So we can go and come back, review, and all of that, improve on the process. So what are the documentation required, at least at the minimum? Number one, we have the identification of the assigned individual with the ultimate responsibility. Is it the management partner, whoever it is? There must be documentation around that. The firm's quality objective and quality risk, very key. There must be documentation. And so, if we implement this, some of those items mentioned by the director will not be seen there, because already you have documentation around this system of quality. management. Then a description of the responses and how the firm's responses address the quality risk. So you have your risk, the quality risk, and the responses, those are the policies, addressing the risk as much as possible. And you will look at it, and let me just go back a little. This is talking about reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance, just to provide a kind of allowance for, inherent limitations, because we know there could be human errors here and there. That is possible. And that is why the system is saying it's a reasonable assurance as much as possible, not an absolute one. Then fourthly, on the documentation, we have the monitoring and remediation process. So here, what are the activities you have for your monitoring and remediation? And I tell you, like, one of the things that will be requested, especially if Financial Reporting Council is reviewing your firm, they even want to see a budget around this. They want to see what your documentation, the resources you have around this. Then lastly, the basis for the conclusion reached on the evaluation of the SQM of the firm. How have you arrived? What are the things you did, and how have you arrived at the conclusion of the evaluation of the SQM of your firm? Okay, so this is these are the 8 components of ISQM 1, and I've talked about them briefly when I was showing the difference between ISQM 1 and ISQC 1. And this will also be our theoretical framework, because everything we're doing revolved around these 8 pillars. So let's just look at them in details, especially because of our time. So the firm's risk assessment process, that is the first one, and I've talked about that little. So here, the important things here are the establishment of your quality objectives, identifying and assessing your quality risk, then designing and implementing responses. Those are your policies. And we have said that these things are scalable. So when you see a firm A, the things they do might be different, slightly different from what firms in slide B do or does, because they have different circumstances around them. So it is scalable. So, but at least you should have your quality objectives, quality risk, and your responses. So what are the policies in place, to mitigate any type of quality risk that you have identified as a firm? So, and like I said, the standard itself already has specific quality objectives. So at the least you must take those. But if you need to add to them, why not? You can always add to them. And I believe in the course of doing a deep dive into the standard, you will see all of these things, because we may not be able to cover all of that today because of the time. And like I said, it's just a quick insight to the standard itself. Now, the second thing is the governance and leadership. And this is very key, because, what we call the culture, the tone at the top. When people see the way the leadership behaves or the governance in a firm, it determines how others would also behave within an environment. So the governance and the leadership is just talking about the control environment. What kind of control environment do you have as a firm? Your culture in the firm. What are the culture, or what is the culture that you have built in your firm in terms of ethical values, in terms of, other relevant requirements, even legal and all of that? People should be able to read that, and that comes from the governance and leadership. Also, this also talks about organizational structure. You are supposed to have an organizational structure within the firm. It doesn't matter, the number you are in an organization, because it's good to have, the quality at the onset. You can always expand it. So this talks about organizational structure, because it is depending on the nature of your structure that would determine the kind of operational responsibilities, for instance, that you will assign to people. Then your organizational structure, for instance, you have, within an audit space, you have your service line. Apart from that, you even have other units within that same audit. For example, you have a unit in charge of risk quality. You have a unit in charge of maybe consultations, audit consultations, applicable standards consultation, and all of that. So governance and leadership will take care of all of this. Another one is allocation of firms' resources should be consistent with commitment to quality. Yes, like I said before, FRC will see what is the budget that you have for monitoring to be sure that you are concerned about monitoring and remediation. So they want to see what are the caliber of people you have in that unit and what is the budget that you have in that unit. So that speaks to governance and leadership. Then relevant ethical requirements, we are familiar with this. So even these two are specific objective from the standard that says that the firm and its personnel shall understand and fulfill the relevant ethical requirements existing within the firm. The second one is saying that other stakeholders, and this is very important. So it's not about your internal people only. So there are different kinds of firms. For instance, Deloitte, we have a network. So that is a kind of an arrangement. There are some standalone, and apart from that, there are other firms. You want to take on service providers. You want to take on the maybe resources from service providers. So it's not enough for your own personnel to understand your ethical requirements. Your service providers, vendors, and all of that should also understand the relevant ethical requirements that is applicable to your firm. So, and when we talk about relevant ethical requirement, like I said before, ISBA comes to mind, as well as ICAN and other ethical requirements depending on your firm. So the fourth one is the acceptance and continuance of client relationships and specific engagement. Mr. Fadili mentioned this as well. And even these two are specific objectives, quality objectives from ISQM 1, talking about judgments by the firm whether to accept or continue a client relationship or specific engagement. So what are the background check, for instance, that you did, to accept a client? Was there any form of pre-assessment? You looked at the integrity of the management or those charged with governance and all other relevant information that could support your judgment in accepting a client relationship or specific engagement. Also, the standard says that the financial and operational priorities of the firm do not lead to inappropriate judgments about whether to accept or continue a client relationship or specific engagement. What this is saying is that you should not prioritize your financial operational priorities over what is right, as a professional accountant. So for instance, you want to grow your firm. You have a client that will give you the right audit fees, but then you know that they have issues of integrity and all of that. Should you go ahead and take such clients and all of that? So this, you should have processes, procedures, policies around your acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagement. That is the standard practice, and also the ISQM requires it. So the fifth one is engagement performance, and it talked a lot about it. So also let's just dwell a bit on this because this is very critical to us. So the specific or quality objective to address the performance of quality objectives relating to engagement performance. Now, this is talking about the engagement teams, including the partners, managers, and personnel on a job. Everybody must understand what their roles are or their tasks are in a particular job. So when we talk about direction supervision, so direction is you already have sections allocated to everyone. And I would even encourage, it doesn't matter whether you are big or not, but you should imbibe the right or best practice from the beginning. So direction is saying, okay, what are you supposed to do as a personnel? What am I supposed to do? You know it. Then during the engagement, you are being supervised by, personnel or by other people who have more experience, with the job, so that at every point in time, and that's why we have reviews, so that at every point in time, we are monitoring the quality of that engagement. So we also have that. So again, as professionals, we are expected to exercise professional skepticism. So there should be, policies around that as well. So because you should be able to exercise, professional judgment and all of that. Then another key thing is consultation. So now the standard is calling for a process around consultation. So what are the instances? There should be documented policies on that. At what point we need to restate an account?
Going again.
We sincerely apologize for that breaking transmission. I think our speaker is having a bit of challenges. Let's give her some minutes to reconnect back to the program. Please be patient with us. Sorry, Nama, welcome back. We lost you briefly.
Oh, okay. So let me reshare.
Okay. Okay.
So please, can you see my screen and can you hear me?
Yes, your screen is up now. Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, so, all right. So I was talking about the engagement performance. So I said the standard requires us to have procedures around our engagement performance. So I said, for instance, it talked about direction, supervision. It talked about people, personnel involved in an engagement, understanding their roles in every engagement. So what is expected of each one, they are supposed to understand, and there should be processes and procedures around that. For instance, there is a partner-led meeting before the commencement of an engagement, and that is documented on file. So we know we have an objective, and this is what is expected of everyone. That is already documented on file. It is a process. So I talked about consultation. Do we have procedures or processes around consultation? At what point do we consult when we are faced with certain challenges? There should be processes and procedures around that. So engagement performance. So I said these 6 are the specific quality objectives specified by ISQM 1. We could always add to it, like we have said, that it is scalable. However, this is the minimum every firm should have or should implement. So there should be an engagement documentation that is required, like Mr. Fadile mentioned, that some don't have all the working papers and all of that. By standard, we should have all of this, as part of our standard of quality management. Okay, so we'll talk about resources as well. So like I said, resources used to be human resource, but no, it has expanded beyond that now. So under resources, we have human, we have technological, intellectual, and service providers. So human is talking about, how even the process of engaging your personnels and all of that in terms of competence, and then the number of people you're supposed to put on an engagement. You know, you have a very complex engagement. What are the caliber, the cadres of people you are taking on an engagement? That is key. Technological resources. You should have appropriate technological resources, you know, per engagement. So what are the IT elements that you are deploying? And, you know, it depends on what you are doing. It depends on the nature of engagement, you know, per time and all of that. The intellectual resources, these are also key. It talks about how you obtain, develop, implement, maintain appropriate intellectual resources. So for instance, now, with ChatGPT, would you say it's an acceptable intellectual resource or not? But a firm may decide to, you know, we all need artificial intelligence. It's something, it's a resource that has come to stay. Then, but a firm should be able to validate whatever resource they are using. So there is a way to go around all of this. There should be processes and procedures around it. Then service providers, you may need service providers for different things or different engagements or different services and all of that. So there should be documentation around the kind of service providers you want to take on. So what are the minimum requirements for a service provider you are going to engage in an organization? All of this must be properly documented. Okay, so seventh one, information and communication, and this is very, very important because without this, then the SQM cannot operate. It can't even operate, not to talk of being functional. So because this is the hub, it brings all of the other components together. Because if you are not communicating, you are not getting information, then we can't do anything. So information and communication includes obtaining, generating, or using information regarding SQM and communicating information within the firm and also to external parties. So ICAN is saying we want to come for practice review. They are writing. If you don't have the system of communication, how can you respond back to ICAN? So all of that and information, even within the firm, how do we disseminate information? How do we communicate within the firm with external parties that are part of the firm? For instance, if it's a network of firms or service providers, they're still part of us, although in a different way. Then communication with the other external parties to the firm, for instance, the regulators and those who are outside the firm completely. So there should be a way, there should be processes and procedures around it. So for example, we have things like the IT elements deployed, client information obtained, letter of engagement. I was talking about some of these also earlier, reports to management and those charged with governance, you know, all of these form part of the information and communication component. And it is very key for an organization to define what their information and communication, you know, policies would be, because it's that is a very important part. You would even see that part of what the ISQM requires is that even those who have operational responsibility for ISQM, but they must have a direct line of communication with those who have the ultimate responsibility. So information and communication is a new introduction, but it is very important. So lastly is the monitoring and remediation process. So the firm must establish that. So how do you monitor the effectiveness of the SQM of your firm? Then where you have findings, how do you evaluate your findings and deficiencies if there are such in a timely manner? Don't forget, our focus is on quality. So if we don't do it at the appropriate time, then the objective might not be achieved. So we must have a system of monitoring and remediating. So what are the things the standard requires of us? One, designing and performing monitoring activities. Key. So you may have a separate department for that. And like I said, it is scalable. So depending, so for example, in Deloitte, we have one, you just have dedicated people for that because of the nature of the firm. So you have to design and perform monitoring activities, evaluate findings, identifying deficiencies. This is key because you have to look at findings. Okay, so ICAN has given us a feedback, or FRC has given us a feedback. Oh, this is what we found. So you evaluate it to know whether it's a deficiency. Then you look at the pervasiveness, maybe how it cuts across the organization. If it cuts across the organization, then that may tend towards deficiency. So even the deficiency itself, you need to evaluate the severity of the deficiency. It's just, and you rate it. Is it something that is just a deficiency, or you think it's very significant? Then when you have that, how do you respond to identify deficiency? There must be policies, responses around all of this, objectives around that, quality risk also around that. You need to identify risk. So what are the quality risks if we don't respond to the identified deficiencies? The findings about a particular engagement, this is specific. Then generally ongoing communications related to monitoring and remediation. So what are the ongoing communication that you have within the firm? Maybe you have noticed something, so that what are the things, because you want to improve. We talked about continuous improvement. Also talking about monitoring and reputation, it addresses, network arrangement as well for those who are in a network of firms. So you look at the system of quality management across networks of firms. All right, so this is an illustrated report on the system of quality management. Permit me to use that of Deloitte. So for 2024, in our transparency report, we had to talk about the system of quality management, and you can see the 8 components. You're going to refer to it. You have looked at the 8 components and some of the things that we have done. And at the end of the day, as of a particular date, we're able to conclude on the effectiveness of the ISQM. The last transparency report issued was as of 31 May 2024, where that is our own financial year end. And we could see, you can see the objectives when you look at the ending. The objectives are this: the firm and its personnel fulfill their responsibilities in accordance with professional standards and applicable legal and regulatory requirements, and conduct engagement in accordance with such standards and requirements. An engagement report issued by the firm or engagement partners are appropriate in the circumstances. The firm conducted its evaluation, and the firm concluded that the ISQM provides the firm with reasonable assurance that objectives of the ISQM are being achieved as of 31 May 2024, because the ultimate is that you can conclude on the effectiveness of the ISQM. Now I conclude. The focus of ISQM1 is to ensure that firms prioritize quality in the performance of audit, assurance, and other related engagement quality. The standard emphasizes that the interest of the public, remember, we are serving the interest of the public. The interest of the public is served by the consistent performance of quality engagement. And in achieving this objective, the firm must establish a system of quality management which addresses these 8 components that we have talked about. The approach of ISQM1 is risk-based and requires establishing quality objectives, identifying and assessing risk to achieving the quality objective, and as well designing and implementing responses or policies to mitigate the quality risk. This standard provides a proactive and integrated and holistic approach to performance of engagement that covers the whole process from planning to execution. The standard requires at least an annual evaluation of the system of quality management. Then the principle of ISQM1 is established on flexibility, scalability, and continuous improvement, like I've discussed earlier. So for further reading, you can look at the sites of IASB on what they have on ISQM1, even implement their final pronouncement, the first time implementation guide as well. So what is the expectation from the Institute? The expectation of ICAN is that all firms that perform statutory audit, assurance, and other related services should have designed, implemented, and commenced operating the standard of quality management as prescribed by ISQM 1, which became effective since 15 December 2022. This is 2025 April. And all such firms referred to above are expected to design their internal policies and procedures to comply with the 8 components of ISQM 1. Yes, we'll have questions at the appropriate time. Thank you for listening and thank you for having me. So, Noye, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma, for that wonderful presentation. I'm sure our members will agree with us that she did very, I can see the thumbs up. They're giving a round of applause. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much, Ma, for your time. We really, really appreciate you. Now it's time for questions and answers. I'm sure we all want to ask questions, both for the first speaker as well as Dr. Folashade Owolabi. You have quite a number of questions on the Q&A, so we can just read them out. I think the first batch of questions, should be for Dr. Okay, for Mr. Fadele. Mr. Fadele, do you have the questions ready? Oh, the chairman, questions. Okay. Okay, I've been informed that the chairman of the Professional Practice Committee will be the one to guide, the procession of the questions. So my council member, sir, is a very senior member of the Governing Council and also stands as the chairman of the Professional Practice Committee, Mr. Jamiu Adeyemi Olakiso, FCA. It's my pleasure to please, as Mr. Fadele has directed, that you should be the one to guide us on the Q&A. So it's a pleasure to just hear your voice, sir, so that you can help us do that. Mr. Jamiu, sir, are you on call? Are you on call at the moment?
Yes, I'm here.
Beautiful, sir.
Thank
Good to
you
hear
very
your voice.
much.
Good afternoon once again.
Thank you to the 2 speakers who spoke during the last 2 sessions we had. Thank you very much for the beautiful presentations. And we also thank our participants for the patience you've exercised to be here with us this afternoon. So at this juncture, we would like to go through the questions that have been raised. There are 2 presenters, but in addition, we have the Deputy Registrar in our midst. So at the senior level of the Secretariat, she can help to provide any additional input needed in attending to the questions. So looking at the first question we have here, it says, is there any cause for the audit firm on this review? Sorry, has any part of this question be, I saw 21 answered. I'm not sure. We need to answer all questions because
we might not be able to take all, sir, but none has been answered.
Hold on, I need to. Okay, so some participants put some things in the questions that ordinarily shouldn't be there. Okay, so let me focus on the one that you've not. Is there any cause for the audit firm on this review? That question goes to HOD Toye. Please go ahead and attend to that question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And yes, just a very brief one. There is no cost. for ICAN, for the practitioner. So for now, is free. We are not charging firms for practice review exercise. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is, if the review or monitoring exercise is going to be yearly and firms rated, would there be the need for license to expire? Again, that question is for you, Toye. HOD, please go ahead and unmute.
If the review or monitoring exercise is going to be yearly and firms rated, would there be the need for licenses to expire? The expiration of the license and the practice monitoring exercise, they are two different things. So the licenses, the practice license of the institute has 3-year validity period. And within the 3-year validity period, the institute can write a practitioner for practice review exercise. Even if your license has expired and there is need for us to review your firm, we can as well go ahead and review your firm. So expiration of the license and practice review exercise is they are two different things. So the review is ongoing, it's a continuous thing, while the license has 3-year validity period. After the 3-year validity period, practitioners, you can come around to renew, and if you are no longer in practice, you may return the license to the Institute for Safekeeping. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. The next question says, sir, why does it take long to obtain practice license after council's approval? HOD, I think you need to remain permanently unmuted so that you can be attending to this question. This question is equally for you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Currently, the practice license of the institute, when you apply, it takes an average, for renewal, it takes an average of 3 weeks. For fresh license, I want to know which of them this member is trying to ask after the council approval. So that will be for fresh. How long does it take to obtain practice license? I want to believe it's a fresh license application. So after the council approval, it doesn't take time. After council approve, the next is to implement the decision of the council by way of sending out approval letter, which is going to happen within a week, and also the mandatory orientation program for new members in practice, and that will happen within a month. After the council approval and the letter is given within a week, now such a member has that capacity, has that permission of the institute to start his or her professional practice, not necessarily when the certificate is being presented, because the certificate will be presented during the mandatory orientation program, which may happen after a month or 6 weeks after the council approval. But you can practice earlier before the mandatory orientation program happen. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, kindly be specific on how we can get the audit manual on the ICAN website. Again, HOD, that question is for you.
Okay, audit manual is on website. Go to members. When you click on members, go to members resources. When you click on members resources, other documents, not only audit manual, they are posted there for our members to view, read, and digest the content for seamless operation of their professional practice. It's under members. Then under members resources, all those resources are there. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is it desirable that auditors do not audit accounts prepared by them? However, in case of small clients that largely operate on incomplete records and single entry basis without capacity to establish a suitable accounting department, how possible for the auditor not to take on both the preparation and auditing of the account for such clients? So, HOD, I will direct that question to you as well.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can see that is coming from Dr. Alexander. We normally advise our members to conduct an assessment of which of the engagements that is best for them. Is it accountancy service engagement or the statutory audit engagement? You cannot do the two. It's professionally unethical. Yes, we are aware of the capacity of the small clients that cannot set up any accounting department. If we normally advise our members that if the accounting services is the one that fetch you more revenue, consider it and accept it. If the statutory audit will fetch you more revenue, consider taking up that engagement and stay by it. Whichever one you are unable to do, you can advise your client to engage another audit firm that will do the other two if you decided to go for one. But a situation where you do the two is professionally unethical because it's tantamount to self-review threat. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. What Toye was trying to talk about there has to do with what we call independence. So independence is key. This is not something that is required by ICAN. It's something that is required by the auditing standard setting body that issues ISAs and other related professional standards to us. And they are all under IFAC that our PAO belongs to. So more importantly, you need to recognize the fact that the definition of public interest entity as contained in Section 77 of FRC Act is all encompassing. So that entity you are preparing financial statement for that doesn't have a necessary accounting record, as you call it, or only has, it doesn't even prepare financial statement. That is why you are talking about incomplete record. You need to remind that entity that it needs to design, implement, and operate internal control over financial reporting, unless that entity has been excluded by virtue of the guideline issued by FRC in 2022. Regardless of how small, unless that entity is scoped out of, if it meets the definition of PIE under Section 77 of FRC Act, and it's not scoped out, it has to design, implement, and operate internal control over financial reporting. The implication then is that how can you as an auditor conclude, and how can the management of that entity conclude at the end of the day that it has got internal control that is well designed, that has been well implemented, and that is operating effectively, if it doesn't keep accounting record that can be given to you to audit? Even for entities that keep accounting record, if they don't prepare financial statements, including all relevant disclosures to give to you, it shows that they do not have adequate controls, or they do, but they are not operating well when it comes to financial statement close process. We need to pay attention to that so that you will not run foul of the requirement of FRC. Perhaps you need to make sure you check that entity very well. If it doesn't meet the definition of public interest entity, maybe the problem is lesser. But once it meets, you need to be careful to ensure that you don't run foul of what FRC expects us to do. Thank you. I saw one of the new regulations that the filing of return will be March 31 annually. What of those firms whose reporting period is not 31 December? Or what is the duration of time to filing of return from the end of the reporting period? Okay, so I'm wondering where this person that asked the question saw that document, because it's not been released. But nevertheless, I will allow the HOD to respond to this question. Over to you, HOD.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To address that, the Governing Council of the Institute, just like Chairman said, we've not ruled out any communication, but I want to answer the member, the anonymous member, that for those firms whose their reporting period is not at the first, whichever reporting period you are operating in your firm, if your reporting period is after 31st of March, as stipulated by the council, yes, you will file your activities in the following year. And if your reporting period is, let's say, 31st of December, and you are filing your return by 31st of March, 3 months after your reporting period, you will still report your activities as at December. So after reporting period, after deadline of the council, your reporting period is sometime like June. That means in 31st of March, the following year, you'll be reporting the activities from June the previous year. So irrespective of your cutoff which you operate in your individual firms, the 31st of March deadline of the council still stands. As at that day, you will report what is available. The rest will come up in the next annual return filing in the subsequent year. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. I think what the HOD has said, in essence, is that at the appropriate time, when that document is being released, we will have sufficient guide for members to know when you should file the return. Similar to the way it has been when it comes to the transparency report required by the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria from members. Okay. The next question, if the findings also involve those charged with governance, management, what are the options available for a firm? HOD, that question is for you, I guess.
All right. If the findings emanated from the statutory audit, which you conducted as a firm, also involved those that are charged with governance, knowing fully well that your management letter will also go to those that are charged with governance. Yes, that doesn't mean that we should not do our job professionally. They still need to respond to your audit observation, to your findings. So all they need to do is to make a kind of commitment that, yes, we are aware of this, and we are this and this are the things we are going to put in place to ensure that before your next audit, all this deficiency has been remediated. So irrespective of those that are involved, they still need to respond to your management letter. Unless you want to say that, unless you want to say that, what if they don't respond to your management letter? So, but I don't want to reframe the question. So if they are involved, they still need to respond to your management letter, make a commitment, their remediation plan, and you need to have it documented in black and white before you sign off the audit engagement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. You can keep the question coming. I think we still have the opportunity of operating this till 4 o'clock, or maybe it's not 4, please guide me accordingly. But suffice to say that part of the reasons we've designed this program is to make it possible for both the practitioners and the institutes, mainly represented by the professional practice department, to interact with you. And like it has been said before, we would like to do this, if possible, on quarterly basis, so that all clarifications you may have, you can easily get response to your clarifications at this type of event. So the next question is, my name is Ogundepo Babatunde. My question is, how many years does it take one to obtain practice license, and what is the process? Thank you. HOD, over to you. HOD, over to you.
Yes, sir. So in terms of duration, how long does it take to obtain practice license? The minimum requirement is 36 months. However, it can be more than that.
Did you say 26 or 36?
36 months.
36, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that
36. So once you have you are expected to commence the practical audit training in an ICAN registered audit firm. And from day one, we usually advise our members to document their practice attachment training with ICAN. The procedure is on website, how to do that, so that when you now come around and say you want to get practice license of the institute, the 3 years mandatory minimum must be observed before you can now apply for practice license. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. The next question is, thanks for the collaborative, informative, and supportive webinar. It has been a friendly experience and not combative at all. This is well appreciated. I think this should be sustained. Thank you very much. Subsequently, whoever doesn't have question like this, if you have commendation, put it under the chat rather than the Q&A, so that we won't confuse question with this. But thank you, we really appreciate your feedback. The next question is, the first speaker revealed the engagement review will also be done by ICAN staff who have not been in practice. Will that not pose a challenge, since they won't be familiar with the challenges practitioners face? The second one from that same person is, talking of working papers in this digital age and cloud storage of documents, I hope the review will make provision for these developments in terms of permanent and recurring audit files. HOD, I wouldn't know whether you would like to respond to the first question, but perhaps it was what you said, maybe a slip of tongue, or maybe what you were trying to say then was that you were not in practice, but you had been in practice before now. Some of the people that do the review with you in your team, some of them had been in practice before they come to ICAN. What ICAN has decided to do is that, unlike in the past, that there will be volunteers who are members of ICAN and who are in practice that will come and do the review on behalf of ICAN. So that has been scrapped for over 3 years ago, and it's been decided, the way it is done in many other jurisdictions, that the staff of ICAN should be empowered to do it. And they are the one doing it. I guess what the HOD was trying to say is that currently they are not in practice because they are working with ICAN on full-time basis. HOD, is there anything you'd like to add to what I've said?
You've already addressed the point. Initially, the issue of confidentiality, when ICAN get the support of managing partners from other firms to review for them, and the other firm that is under review may not be ready to disclose some things. But all this confidentiality, firm A, managing partner from firm A doesn't want for the managing partner of firm B to come and review me as managing partner of firm A, and vice versa. Now, what I mean is that we ICAN staff, we are independent. We are working on full-time basis with ICAN. So the issue of confidentiality does not arise. Mr. Chairman has already addressed that. We came from practice. We have the experience. Likewise, my team members. And for now, we've signed confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement with our employer, which is ICAN. We are also members of the Institute, but we are in full-time review as a reviewer with ICAN. So all our members should feel free to relate with us. We have that responsibility to ensure the confidentiality of the information they give to us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, sir.
Okay. The second part of that question, I guess, is for you as well. HOD, you say, talking of working papers in the digital age and cloud storage of documents, I hope the review will make provision for these developments in terms of permanent and recurring audit files.
Okay. Yes, we are aware. The ICAN is fully aware of the digital age, the digitalization, and what we are requesting for when it comes to you updating when it comes to audit firms, updating their permanent and current audit file. What we are expecting is that even if it's going to be kept digital, it should be updated regularly. We are not insisting that you should give us hard copy documents. No. In fact, it is more preferable to us to get it in digital format. So we are more comfortable with that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. The next one is, the operational space for auditors has shrinking in Nigeria because of the increasing monitoring bodies, CAC, FRC, ICAN, FRS, I guess, State Revenue Board, etc. ICAN is just announced that returns will be filed yearly again. Is this not too much? Is there financial or other support from ICAN on this? HOD, all the questions seems to be for you. You don't need to mute yourself, like I've said.
Okay. For now, yes, the Institute is aware of the annual filing by the practitioners, but notwithstanding our own, there is no, for now, pending when the guidelines will be released by the council. To the best of my knowledge, there is no financial implication. Our members for now will not be charged for filing. So because we want to encourage our members to do the needful, and for now, to the best of my knowledge, there is no financial implication. Filing is free for the Institute for now, pending when the guidelines will be released by the council on how our members can go about the annual return filings. Thank you, sir.
Okay. The next question is, okay, that one is not a question. The next one, okay, so this question is being directed at me. It says, my question goes to the chairman on the issue of the attachment that has been made compulsory to be done on ICAN portal. In the process of doing this, we discovered that the date can only be backdated to 6 months. I spent more than 36 months training in an audit firm. I wanted to get a license. I was told that I have to do attachment on the institute portal, and that it can only be backdated 6 months only. I was surprised, despite all the supporting documents at my custody, showing I've been working in an audit firm more than 36 months. I was told that the window to register my commencement of my training period can only be backdated to 6 months. My issue is, how can this be addressed to enable members to register the actual date they started training? Even though this question has been directed to me, right? HOD, the question is for you. I'm sure you are better placed to respond to this question. The question is for the secretariat. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. Yes, we. I can see that question. That I was surprised despite all supporting documents. I was only window register my friend training period can only be backdated for 6 months. How can this be addressed to enable members to register if the actual date they started their training? Yes. Unfortunately, this is not the first time we are having this, and I can confirm to all our members that the issue of attachment training period, that is the deadline set by the council, has been shifted like 3 times, all because of the complaints and consistent agitations from our members. That deadline has been shifted like 3 times. The first deadline was 2022, December 2022. That whoever that has not documented this practice attachment earlier before 31st of December 2022 will lose all their training and they are going to start afresh. Later, we shifted it to 2023 June, 2023 December, another 1 year. And later, we still shifted it to June 30, 2024. So, for now, in as much whoever that has not documented that practice attachment earlier before the last deadline set by the council by last year, June 30th, the only available window is you can only backdate for 6 months, and that is the position of the council until any other thing change. For now, you cannot backdate again. So the earlier you document your practice attachment with the institute, the better, so that the remaining 30 months we start counting. So that's the position of the council, and there is, at the secretariat level, we are here to implement the decision of the council. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry. The next question is, thank you so much for the 2 presentations. Please, how do one get to know the integrity of the directors of a company before accepting an engagement, especially when such company is not a public interest entity? HOD, do you want to answer that?
My chairman, sir, you can go ahead, sir.
Okay, sorry. I'm actually in transit. Give me a minute. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir, but we lost you at a point. Well, we can hear you now, sir. Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
I can hear you. Say hello.
We can't hear you, so hello, sir. Your network is breaking.
Participants to still apologize for that breaking transmission. I think our chairman is having a bit of technical issues, but Mr. Fatherly is here and he would just continue with the questions as much as he can see, and give answers to those questions that are on the Q&A. So, Mr. Fatherly, because of time, you can just go ahead while the chairman joins us.
All right, thank you, madam. Yes, the question the Mr. Chairman was trying to answer. I don't want to. I will. Let me proceed to other ones. As soon as he joins us back, he's going to address. Okay, I can see Mr. Chairman has come back now. Hello, sir. Can you hear us? Hello, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so the next one has to do with a question from Anonymous in implementing, which says like this: implementing the ISQM1, what advice do you give to smaller firms in implementing the 8 pillars in terms of cost implication? So I will give the floor for the second paper presenter to address that in person of Dr. Folashade. So, madam, you have the floor. Can you address that? Thank you.
Oh, all right, sir. Thank you. Well,
can you hear me now?
Okay. Chairman is back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I changed my location at that point in time, and I used another internet. So,
Okay, sir.
if you're able to hear me, let me quickly respond to that question that was asked.
Okay,
I think
sir.
that question should have been directed at the second speaker. She was the one that talked about ISQM1. And one of the components of ISQM1 talks to client acceptance, engagement acceptance, client continuance, engagement continuance. Specifically, regardless of whether you are dealing with a new client that has information publicly available, for example, a company that is listed, or it does not have information publicly available, you should be able to get certain information from your client for the purpose of ensuring that, one, you are onboarding the right client, and two, you are not onboarding a client that will create problem for you at the end of the day. It is a specific requirement of ISQM1 that you need to assess the type of clients that you want to work with. And for example, you have the right to request for the audited financial statement. If that company has been in existence and another auditor was doing it before, you have the right to ask for the audited financial statement. In fact, one of the things you can do is to write the bankers and the lawyers to the company to be able to find out more about that entity. And I can tell you, we are doing this, and we're able to do it because it's a specific requirement of the standard. So you can get that information from a number of sources. You can get it by having discussion with them. You can also get the information you need by, for example, in my own office, there is, for every client you are onboarding, you need information about the director, and you need to perform certain procedures. There are certain web page where the information about that director will be put, and whatever is available on the net about that person, they will be able to get it, and they will use it to assess that person. And in addition, we also have the anti-money laundering requirements that specify certain things that you must do about anybody that you are going to work with. So the information you need can still be obtained, even though the company may not be listed, even though the directors may not be well known, like the directors of other companies that are listed. So that is the way I would like to respond to that. Thank you. Unfortunately, I can't see the question anymore because I got logged out and logged in again. HOD, if you are still there, you may be the one that will read the question.
Okay, sir. Yes, the next one has to do with ISQM. That's second paper presentation. The question is, in implementing the ISQM1, what advice do you give to smaller firms in implementing the 8 pillars in terms of cost implication? Thank you. Dr. Folashade, you want before.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so I will start by saying, because we want to focus on quality. So it doesn't matter whether the company, the firm is small or big. So you have at the back of your mind that, okay, quality is what you want to achieve, okay? Now, like even the German talked about now, you will see that the process of the client acceptance and all of that, in their firm, for instance, you have maybe like 4 separate units that will work on that. But if it's a smaller organization, you don't need the 4, that kind of structure, even if it's one person. So you won't just take on engagement like that. He has talked about discussing with them, the management, writing to the bankers and all of that. Then also searching online, there are, even if you don't have all the sophisticated website and all of that, even the one that you have, it might be as small as Google, checking up on the directors of that company and all of that. So it's still part of trying to maintain quality. So like we said before, this thing is killable. So but at every point, let it show that you are committed to quality. So for instance, an organization does not have an organization structure. Even if it's 3 people, have a structure. When it becomes 5, you will modify it. So something like that. So the advice would be, first of all, have a mindset of quality. Be committed to the quality. And also you look at, because the ISQM already gives us the minimum that we should operate with. So go to the ISQM. Like I said, there is even an implementation document of that ISQM. What do you have currently? Okay, what is ISQM 1 saying? What are the things you don't have? Then think through how you can be able to achieve that, even with your minimal resources that you have. There is always a way. Once you have a mindset of something, there will always be a way around achieving it. Some things are just very simple and basic, but because you have not applied your mind to it, it's possible you are not looking at the direction. But now that is a requirement, so look at that. Sometimes there may be need, for collaboration and all of that, maybe joint audit and all of that, just to strengthen things up, and ways like that can also help in the implementation process. Thank you. Mr. Fadili, back to you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. With your kind permission, Mr. Chairman, can I go to the next question?
Please go ahead, since I can't see the question anymore.
Okay, the next one has to do with a member asking for, okay, he said, please, not all of us can be working in the top 4 big firms. What consideration do you give to those of us that are trying to eke out a living? With your kind permission, Mr. Chairman, can I quickly address this? Unfortunately, the member...
Once you know the question is for you, please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Unfortunately, the member did not specify the kind of consideration. As we discussed several things today, we discussed the issue of annual return templates. Are you seeking for exemption? We discussed the issue of ISQM. Are you saying that we should give you consideration? We discussed practice review exercise. Are you seeking for exemption? So what kind of consideration are you expecting to give those who are just trying to eke out a living? In any case, we answer from the perspective of practice review exercise and the ISQM. So practice review exercise, irrespective of the size of your firm, we have our internal risk-based templates, assessments, which we use to select the firm to be reviewed. Once you fall into that bracket, once your firm, based on available data with us, is within that net, definitely you are going to, in as much you are not on Big 4, I'm sure you are not exempted from practice review exercise. So even if you are Big 4, Big 4 is equally not exempted. The only thing is that if the FRC, because most of the Big 4, their clients are into public interest entity, definitely is going to fall within the scope of that of FRC. So either big or small, you are not exempted from practice review exercise. Either big or small firm, you are not exempted from implementation of ISQM 1. So the kind of consideration you are expecting, maybe you can send me to ppc@ican.org.ng so that we can understand your perspective. The next question has to do with Mr. Shehu. Please, what is the position of peer review on this standard? What is the position of peer review on this standard? So, Dr. Folashade, will you address that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. But maybe the context is not so clear to me. But for peer review, I don't think there is any, nothing says one cannot do a peer review when it comes to ISQM 1. And even I wanted to add, to say that, even the process of the way I see it, practice review and whatever, is just to ensure the quality, to improve the process. So it's something that we should look forward to because it helps our processes better. So what you don't see, another person is seeing and all of that. So not for the sanction per se, but for I think we should look at the positive side of it. So peer review, if you have other people to review what you have, is just to enhance the quality of what you do. That's what I understand. Thank you, sir.
Okay. The next one is...
Sorry, if I may just add something to that. The requirement of the FRCR, there is a section in FRCR, section 61, I think, subsection 3. That section talks about second partner review. And specifically, it says that on an engagement, an audit engagement, that the entity in question, the reporting entity, as defined in FRC Act, FRC would like to see evidence of the second partner review. The way that has been interpreted, from what we heard from FRC, is that they want you to have another partner that will do the review of the work that has been done by the engagement partner. So if you are working on, if you are a one-partner firm, and the entity you have audited meets the definition of public interest entity, I strongly advise that you should have peer review. Even though you don't have another firm within, have evidence of maybe another firm that you have collaborated with that can review that work that you've done. So that in case FRC asks, you would be able to show evidence that you have complied with that requirement of the FRC.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next one has to do with the demise of the managing partner. He said, in case of the demise of the managing partner, what are the procedures that can be taken so to avoid a collapse of the firm? So we normally advise our members to ensure appropriate succession planning. In fact, one of those things we check when we go out for the review, especially under firm level review, is the evidence to demonstrate to us that yes, adequate structure is in place to pave way for successions. In a situation like this, it's better the partnership, the admission of that partner of the partnership is consummated before the demise of the managing partner. If that has not been properly consummated before the demise, step that can be taken is to, especially if there is anyone within the firm that has grown up to the position of a partner, and such individual has practice license of the institute, the person can write the institute for the continuity of the firm. But where there is no one within the firm with active license of the institute, definitely the senior person in the firm can begin discussion to merge with another firm. But where the managing partner is a sole practitioner and is late, and no one in the firm has practice license, indirectly, the firm may likely go into extinction. Because once you don't have license to practice, you can't be a partner based on ICAN rules and regulation. So a firm that finds itself in a situation like this, the best way to go is to begin discussion with other peer review firms who they've been peer reviewing with the firm before the demise of the managing partner, and think of possibility of merging their practices. So I can see my deputy registrar hands raised. Dr. Ijoma Anaso, you have the floor, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Toye. Thank you, Chairman, for this opportunity and this enlightening session. At this time, the Institute has not come up with guidelines on what to do, but we've had instances when a firm kind of died because the managing partner passed on and wanted it was expected that the family would take over the firm, but they couldn't, at least not under the ICAN platform, because they did not have the practice license. So we are going to work around developing a policy, but we're also aware that this sector is overregulated, like some of you have identified. Building up on what Toye has said, we also would recommend that every organization should have a transition partner. You know, nobody wants to think of having to pass on to the afterlife, but it's a reality. As soon as we are born, it's like a destination we are getting to. And I think it is best firms have a transitional partner, not just for even in events of death, but also even in events of where there is more than one partner, but maybe there's a disagreement between the two partners. A transitional partner can come in and wade in and ensure that the issues are sorted out. And in the case maybe a partner has to travel abroad and may not be able to operate his license, but he wants his business to continue to run, a transitional partner will also facilitate in ensuring that that business continues to run under the guidelines of the institute until the managing partner returns to the jurisdiction. We're going to work around a policy regarding this, but I hope that these have provided some insight into how the institute thinks this should be done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, DLTS. So, Mr. Chairman, can we proceed to the next one? Okay. The next one has to do with, okay, I can see appreciation to Dr. Folashade Olabi for insightful presentation. No doubt the issue discussed are very technical and may not be fully understood by most practitioners, especially sole practitioners. My question is to ask if there will be a subsequent webinar to address each of these key components more practically and detailed. I investigated audit quality among the Big Four UK firms for my PhD and do appreciate the concern about the quality worldwide. Yes, I can assure you, Dr. Alexander, that the practical session on ISQM, like I mentioned earlier, the governing council of the institute has approved that we should move from theoretical to practical session just to enlighten our members. And that session, the arrangement is in place where the Professional Practice Committee is working in collaboration with small and medium-sized practice committee of the Institute. And that session will be organized in all the 6 geopolitical zones virtually. And we are going to give our members that opportunity to answer their question, and the session is going to be practical based. We are going to touch each of the 8 pillars of ISQM 1. We are going to assist them we are going to demonstrate to them on how to build policies and procedures in their firm around each of the 8 pillars of ISQM 1. Thank you, Dr. Alexander. The next one is from Dr. Gibson. How does ICAN intend engaging stakeholders and consumers of services, member services, to enable them understand the quality standard expected of members and imperative for paying adequately service, especially based on ICAN scale of professional fee? Yes, the Institute has done what is expected of them in terms of coming up with a scale of professional fee. However, the scale of professional fee from the Institute is just a minimum. Is a kind of guide. The relationship, we should be aware that the relationship between the client and the auditors is business in nature. So the Institute can only provide guidance on what should be your charge out rate. However, in some instances, your firm, your client, if they have that capacity, they can pay higher. In some instances, if they pay lower and you know that it's not going to cover your running costs, definitely you can as well enter negotiation with your client on how to increase the scale. But the awareness will continue to go around. This very particular session is going to be, we are going to ensure that it's held on regular basis, and from time to time, public enlightenment session on how our members can be priced adequately, even in line with what is happening in other professional bodies. The Institute will continue to do that awareness and sensitization. Thank you, Dr. Gibson. Mr. I can see, okay, Mr. Fajimin, what will be your suggestion to a sole practitioner in dealing with subject of engagement quality reviewer when it's a sole practitioner? Engagement quality reviewer is expected. Either you are a sole practitioner or you are a big firm. Inasmuch the engagement which you are taking is a public interest entities engagement. Even international standard require you that you have an EQCR. Even the rules and regulation of FRC recently, which Chairman talked about, of second partner reviewer, SPR, is also related to engagement of clients who are into public interest entity. If you are a sole practitioner and you take up an engagement and that engagement is a PI engagement, definitely you are expected to engage an engagement quality reviewer, even if you are a sole practitioner. That is the standard, that is the rule. So another one is, okay, thank you for presentation. Please, are this applicable to internal audit? If yes, no. My answer to that is no. This awareness session are basically for statutory auditors who are members in practice, and the categories of these people we are talking about, they function as external auditors to companies and not the internal auditors. What are the requirements of registering an audit firm with ICAN? Yes, the procedures are on the website. When you click on members resources, you will see the procedure and the condition there's a document that speaks to that on our website. How do a firm assess the integrity of those responsible with governance? I think this has been addressed earlier. And Abdul Rashid, okay. I think the last, okay, let me check the last one here. You talk about ranking rating of firms after practice review, which you claim may attract additional fee for practicing firm. You also mentioned, okay, that this exercise is not witch hunting. Why managing partner will be subjected to investigation? Is that not witch hunting, Mr. George Williams? Investigation panel, which I mentioned about, is a situation where a managing partner, for instance, you did something unethical, and during our practice review exercise, we are able to spot this. Definitely, we will report all these non-compliances to the professional committee of the institute, who will thereafter report to the council. And if the council is of the opinion that, yes, you need to come around for interrogation, that is not witch hunting. What we are trying to do is to ensure quality of audits within our jurisdiction, and also to ensure that the professional practice space is properly sanitized for the purpose of retaining the confidences of our investor. So that is the last question here, Mr. Chairman. We've addressed all the questions. I want to give you the floor so that we can go to the next item after the QA session on the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, HOD, and thank you to Dr. Is it Dr. Folashade or what? Correct me if I'm wrong.
You are right, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. We really appreciate. I guess HOD is to do vote of thanks, right? Or what next? According to the agenda.
Yes, vote of thanks, but in case the deputy registrar wants to make any addition at this point, the floor is open so that we can do the vote of thanks, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Anything you like to say before we give vote of thanks? Okay, so in the absence of anything, let me specially thank everyone who has created time to be part of this event this afternoon. We sincerely appreciate. Like we said at the beginning of this session, we want to ensure that there is a handshake between the practitioners and the institute. And we want to create an avenue to interact regularly, if possible once in a quarter, so that if there are new things we like to bring to the institute, would like to bring to your attention, we'll use this avenue to bring it to your attention. If there are things we would like to clarify, you can easily clarify them on this platform. So it is better that way. We believe it's better, especially the yardstick, the framework, or the checklist that the institute will use to assess you so that you can get ready. The objective is not to punish anyone. The objective is to ensure that quality is delivered, like Dr. Folashade said. And if that is done, our institute will be better for it. Our profession will be better for it. So we thank you very much, the speakers. We thank you, the secretariat. We thank you to everyone who has done one thing or the other to make this event possible. And also we thank all the participants. Lest I forget, the deadline for everyone to pay the subscription so that you'll be able to vote in the election that is coming next month is by the end of this month. So in case you have not paid your subscription, please make sure you pay before the end of this month so that you'll be able to vote. On this note, I want to say thank you, and thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye. HOD?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything?
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. So, closing prayer. So, can we have a closing prayer from anyone led by the Spirit? Who will pray? Okay, Father, we thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Accept our thanks in Jesus' name. As we depart from here, we pray that your presence will not depart from us. As we go into our various destinations, Father, keep us. Everything we've learned today, Father, give us the grace to implement them. And at the end of the day, Father, each and every one of us will have cause to glorify the holy name. Thank you, Heavenly Father, because you've answered. Prosper us, O Lord. Prosper our profession. Prosper our practices. Jesus' mighty name, we have prayed. Amen and amen.
Thank you, Mr. Fadele. I think one more information before we round up. So just in case there are members that maybe your questions were not properly attended or you need more clarifications, we'll just quickly share email address to the department as well as an officer in charge. So you can take it down if you can, ppc@ican.org.ng, ppc@ican.org.ng. Typing it on the chat box. Then also send to CA Udemba, that's CAUDEMBA @ican.org.ng. Typing both email addresses on the chat box, just in case you need further clarifications on the issues discussed today. Please do well to send the members of the department an email and you will be responded to. Once again, we'd like to let everyone know that this training attracts 2 credit points and it will be given to, hopefully before the week runs out, to everyone that registered and participated for this training. So thank you once again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this initiative, and thank you for the opportunity to anchor this program. Before we round up, let's call the technical team to round it up with the national and ICAN anthem as our usual practice. Once again, thank you. Anthem, one thing.
Who's playing it now?
You put the anthem.
Oh, yeah.
Hello?
Go.
So please, tomorrow morning. Where is it coming from? I think close up. Close up. It's in hand.